Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a thrift flip video where I take items I've recently purchased from the thrift store and I'm going to change them up and upcycle them to something that is more my style. So let's get started on today's projects. I know that everyone has been doing this tin can project. It is so popular, but people are still asking me for a video. So I'm going to go ahead and just try it for the first time on camera right here and try to put my own spin on it. So of course you want to start off with a clean tin can and then you want to remove the bottom of your can. I just used a regular can opener from the store. It worked fine. Then you're going to want to take a rubber mallet and you're just going to lightly hit it. I'm not hitting it very hard. It doesn't take much effort at all to do this. And I just put a piece of wood under my can. And as you can see, it's closing up perfectly with very little effort. Now the top of the can is still very round and I want it to be a little bit more oval shaped. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that a little bit too. I'm sorry, y'all. I did not realize that my camera was moving as I did this. Now I want to drill a hole in each side so I can add a hanger. Now, like I said, this is my first time creating this, and I think this step would be a lot easier to do before you smashed your can. So that's what I would recommend. But I just have, a regular round drill bit on my drill, and I'm going to drill a hole in each side and make sure you have a piece of wood under your can. That way you don't drill a hole into your work surface. I've seen these cans finished off in so many different ways. Actually, two of my friends have already done a video on it, Jackie at Ruth and Ruby and Teresa at Our Green Acres. So I'm going to go ahead and link their videos in the description if you want to see, different styles on how to do this and see how they did theirs. I decided to add drop cloth fabric to mine because, I just love drop cloth. And I used a spray adhesive because I did want some of those ridges to show. So I just put the spray adhesive on and then put my drop cloth over it. Now I'm cutting a seam in the back and I'm just going to hot glue that down. The excess fabric on the top, I am just going to tuck into my can and I'm going to glue it down in a minute. I'm gonna just leave it as is for now. And then at the bottom, I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the excess and I'm going to hot glue it together so that way it doesn't open up or anything. I need to put a hole in my drop cloth where I have a hole in my tin can. So I am just using my fabric scissors to poke a hole. Now, after putting this project together, I realized that putting a hole in your tin can isn't 100% necessary. You can just simply hot glue your ribbon or string or whatever you decide to use to your tin can. So if you want to skip the step of putting a hole in your tin can, that is 100% fine. I always keep the hemmed edges of my drop cloth in case I want to use it on little projects like this. I am hot gluing one piece at the bottom and then I'm going to hot glue another piece all around the top. I'm going to have my seam in the back with my other seam so you really won't be able to see it. But I just love the little extra detail that this provides. I thought a beaded hanger would look so perfect with the drop cloth, so I am going to be using this beaded garland that I purchased from Walmart, and I'm just going to put it through the holes in the tin can that I created. But I also ended up hot gluing it, and that's when I realized that putting a hole through the can wasn't necessary, that you could just simply hot glue it. And after adding some floral to my tin can, I also realized that I should have made the handle a lot longer so that way you could see it over the floral. So if I did this again, I would just hot glue my hanger to the can and I would also make my hanger much longer. I think it already looks really cute, especially after you add some floral to it, but I'm going to take it one step further and add a transfer from the Iron Orchid Designs Brocante transfer book. I decided to use one of the butterfly images and I'm just taping it to my piece, and then I'm going to use the transfer tool that comes with your IOD transfer and you just rub it off, y'all. It comes off so easy on this drop cloth. Even the tiny little antennas on this butterfly transfers perfectly. I can see why people are absolutely loving this project. It's so easy, it's so fun, and there's so many different directions that you can go. So y'all let me know what you think about my take on the tin can project. I purchased this rabbit from the thrift store. It looks to be a recreation of an old chocolate mold. However, it does come from TJ Maxx or Marshall's or one of those stores. I'm not really loving the finish on it, so I want to change it up and make it something that is more my style. The first thing that I want to do is cover up the purple eggs with some gray paint. That way that purple does not come through any of the paint finishes that I am going to be doing on this rabbit. I want to put a layer of black chalk paint on this rabbit. It's not going to take much paint. I'm going to do a very thin layer because what I'm going to do is come back with a baby wipe and just distress back a little bit of that silver. I'm going for an aged, almost cast iron effect on this rabbit. So the more colors and the more dimension that I can get, the better. It's already looking really good. The next thing that I want to do is add some Waverly Antiquing Wax. I'm going to cover the entire rabbit in this wax. Then I'm going to take a paper towel and just wipe off all the excess wax. Now, I really should have sealed the black paint in before I put the antiquing wax on it, because when I went to wipe off the antiquing wax, some of that black also started to wipe off. Now, it wasn't a huge deal since it's such a layered look. I was able to add more paint, but you know, I had distressed it to the exact look that I wanted, so I should have went ahead and sealed it in. So I just wanted to let y'all know that if you're doing this look, I would seal it in after you put the black paint and distress. Now for the fun part. We are going to be adding cinnamon to our piece. Not only does it make it smell good, but it makes it look old and rusty and crusty. I just sprinkled cinnamon on the entire piece and just kind of tapped off any excess. Now I am taking a dry brush and brushing off any of the excess cinnamon that did not stick to my paint. So what happens is it'll stick into all the crevices where the antiquing wax is. And now I'm just going in, like I said, and touching up those spots where I felt like the black paint came off a little bit too much. Once I get it looking exactly the way that I want it to look, I'm going to spray it with a Rust-Oleum clear coat in a matte finish. And once the cinnamon is sealed in, it will not come off. I thrifted these 2 umbrella baskets a while ago, and they've been up on my website for sale, but they have not sold. And to be honest with you, I am not crazy about the glossy brown finish on them, so I'm going to see if I can change that. One of my subscribers told me that she used bleach water to lighten her baskets. I have never tried this before, so we're going to do it. I have a container that I filled with about half water and half bleach, and I ended up soaking these in the bleach water for about 20 minutes. I've never done this before, but I am always up for an experiment, and I figured if it doesn't work out, I can always paint them. My basket has been soaking for about 40 minutes. I did 20 minutes on one side, 20 minutes on the other side. I don't see a big difference, but I'm going to clean it with some fresh water and let it dry, and we'll go from there. So my basket is dry and it looks great. It definitely did not look like this when I pulled it out the bleach. It dried totally different, and I am loving this look. It has a beautiful age to it, like it's been sitting in a barn for 20 years, and you can see the difference between the bleached one and the unbleached one. So I'm going to retake pictures of this and have it back up for sale on my website. I really love how this came out. Y'all let me know what y'all think. And now that I know about this bleaching technique, it might be even harder for me to pass on some of the baskets that I find at the thrift store. I purchased this picture at the thrift store for $2. It is a beautiful picture as is, but it has some chips on it, and I loved the raised floral details on this piece, and I know the perfect technique to rescue this picture. I'm going to be mixing baking soda with this antique white latex paint. It's going to be about a half and half recipe, so half baking soda and half paint. When you first put the baking soda in, it's going to look like too much, but once you mix it all together, it should come out to a pretty smooth consistency. When using this mixture, I also like to use a chip brush just for added texture. Now, I did spray my piece with a layer of the Rust-Oleum clear coat sealer. You want to do that especially if your piece is this shiny. It is just going to help your paint stick to the piece. Now you will be able to see the brush strokes in here, and that is kind of the whole point. So what I do is I like to just get the paint on there, get it in all the nooks and crannies, and then I go back and either go up and down or around the piece, whatever way I want my brush strokes to be. This is what the piece looks like after the first coat of paint. When I am doing this paint mixture, I usually end up doing 2 coats. Every now and then I have to go back and do a few touch-ups after the second coat, but it should not take more than that. I'm going to apply the paint the same way I did before. I'm going to get the paint on there and go up and down with my brush strokes. And once this piece is completely dry, I will seal it with a coat of Rust-Oleum clear coat in a matte finish. I picked up this piece at the thrift store because I really liked the chunkiness of it, and I also really liked the shape on the lid. I also think this is the perfect canister set to add some IOD modes to. So I'm going to be using 2 different modes. I'm going to be using the IOD Birdsong mode and also the Cameo mode. The Cameo mode has these 2 little tiny birds on it that I think will be perfect to add to the lid. I added cornstarch to the bottom of the mold to keep the clay from sticking, and I'm just using IOD clay. You just simply push it in the mold and then use your finger to rub off any excess, and then they should pop right out. And even these tiny birds are just full of details. So that's why you want to make sure you do not miss that cornstarch step. That way you can easily get them out and keep all the detail. Now I'm going to glue all my molds on using Gorilla Glue. I'm going to put 2 birds on the front of the lid, and then I'm also going to put 2 birds on the other side. That way, no matter which way you put the lid, it will look the same. And then the 2 larger birds I'm going to put on the middle of the canister set. To keep them in place as they dry, I'm just going to put some masking tape over them. That way they don't slide down since it is a rounded surface. I had a good bit of the baking soda and paint mixture from the previous project, so I decided to also go ahead and paint this canister using that same textured paint. This time I'm going to have my brush strokes going around the canister instead of up and down. And I'm also going to take a dry paintbrush and just brush the birds because I don't want too much texture on the birds because I do not want them to lose all those beautiful details. I'm going to paint both the canister and the lid with just 1 coat of this paint mixture before moving on to the next step. I'm adding a little bit of antiquing wax to the antique white paint that I used on the canister. I want to create just a little bit of a darker color. Then using a paper towel, or you could use a sponge or whatever else you have on hand, I'm just going to start dabbing this lighter color. And then I decided that I also wanted a little bit darker color. So I have 3 different colors going on. So I did another mixture with the paint and added more antiquing wax to it just to make it a little bit darker. Now I'm gonna go in with both colors. I'm gonna dab a little bit of the darker color. I'm gonna dab a little bit of the whiter color, just until I get the effect that I want. It was really hard to get around the birds, so I ended up going in with a paintbrush right there. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. You just continue to dab and mix your paint until you kind of get the effect that you want. I want to have different variations of color for kind of a more aged look, but I don't want it to look blotchy. So I'm just going to continue to do this until it looks the way that I want it to look. I did find after kind of blotting it, if I wiped it a little bit, I thought that looked better because it kind of blended the colors together a little bit more and gave it less of that splotchy look. For the last step, I want to take a very dry brush of the textured original white paint and just dry brush over the whole piece. This definitely brought all the colors together and brought out even more of that beautiful texture that we created. I absolutely love the way that this piece came out, and you could do it in so many different color variations. I just decided to do it in different colors of white because that is definitely my style, and these little birds on this canister are just the perfect touch. All right, guys, I really hope that y'all enjoyed today's video. I hope it has inspired you to look at things in the thrift store or maybe in your own home in a different way and give you ideas on how you could update them for your own style. Y'all, please leave a comment below and let me know what was your favorite project that I created today. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see y'all in the next video.